Welcome to Bookwrights House, where stories of faith and transformation find their way to readers' hearts. This afternoon, we're joined by Mr. Danny Haag, author of The Full Christmas Story, a book that brings together the biblical verses of Christ's birth in chronological order with reflections and context to guide us deeper into understanding the meaning of Christmas. Good afternoon, Mr. Haag. I'm Elijah Barcelona, and it's such a joy to welcome you here at Bookwrights House. Okay,
Thank you for having me.
so to start, let's first talk about the roots and inspiration behind this book. So, Danny, you describe yourself as a hometown kid who stayed connected to the Cassidy and Kilmana community your whole life. How has growing up in this small town environment shaped your values, faith, and writing style?
Sure. Being in small communities like that, and back then when I was growing up, most people went to church, and faith was very important to us. And so, in the families, you would go to church, and your neighbors would be there, your friends would be there. So that was a very valuable part of my life when I was growing up. My parents made sure they took me and my brothers to church every Sunday.
Okay, that's a really great family bonding. Okay, so you've had a long career in accounting and writing wasn't originally part of your plan. What inspired you to finally sit down and finish the full Christmas story after so many years?
Well, it started, like you said, 39 years ago, and so I was trying to read the Christmas story to my 5-year old son at the time, and it was very difficult with flipping pages and skipping chapters, and I could tell I was losing his attention. So I thought there had to be a better way to be able to read the Christmas story without having to fumble around through all the different pages. So I gradually started working on it, thinking if I would just type the scriptures out and put it in order. And so I started that and got busy, and it kind of dragged on, and I'd work on it for a while, and then I wouldn't work on it for a couple of years because I was really busy. When then I just kind of kept working on it. Well, eventually it got to the point where I really kind of wanted to finish it up, and I could see it kind of starting to develop, where I had, over those years, came up with some other ideas on how I could lay that paper out.
So now let's proceed with the writing journey. So the full Christmas story spanned nearly 4 decades. Can you walk us through what made the process of writing this book so different and personal?
Well, as I was going through and organizing it, and then, of course, I have to decide which verses I felt were pertinent to the main Christmas story, because there's lots of verses in the Bible that are with the Christmas story, but if you're trying to read it to a young child or trying to read it to somebody else, it doesn't really add to the story. It just makes the story longer. And I was trying to get it to the point where it moved along, it kept the main theme and the main ideas of what was going on in the Christmas story. So I enjoyed picking and choosing and trying to decide, okay, this verse is very important and needs to stay in the text. And so working that through, that was fun. And then also, when you do that and you read the scripture more and more, well, then I was starting to understand more depth into those scriptures as I was reading it. It wasn't just 10 words on the verse, there was some major meaning behind that.
Okay, so while we're at the topic of biblical verses, so researching biblical verses requires deep study and reflection. So, did your understanding of scripture or faith grow in surprising ways during that process?
Absolutely. As I was starting to look at the words in each verse and then started questioning it, like, well, why would that word be said that way? Or why were those groups of words said that way? Or what were they trying to describe, the point they were making? And so as I read, and then also over those many years going to church, listening to preachers on TV and radio and stuff, whenever they talked about the Christmas story, I made notes because they were bringing up things I never thought about, and they were explaining in more detail just exactly kind of what I was dealing with. So I had accumulated a lot of notes and understanding over those years, and it made it a lot more interesting. And I found out that there was not more to the story, but there was a lot of explanations that helped understand so many of the important points of how the Christmas story came about and the risk and the different challenges they had back then.
Okay, so let's proceed with the impact and the message of the book. So, when families read the full Christmas story, they get to experience scripture word for word rather than the paraphrased one. So, why was it important for you to preserve the verses exactly as they are in the King James Version?
Sure. I had seen so many Christmas books that were short and just had some of the words of the Christmas story in there. And the King James has, I know some people find it difficult to read, but the words are so beautiful how it says it back then. And I just enjoyed hearing the story and reading the story with the King James version of the words. And so that part was very important to me, and to have the whole verse, because if you left out part of the verse, that might have been 2 or 3 words that were important, that once you understood and researched the verse a little bit, taking some of those words out left some of the meaning out of that verse. So it became very important to me to leave it in its entirety and obtain and enjoy the beauty of how the words were written.
Okay, yes, indeed, indeed. So, when readers close the final page of your book, what do you hope they carry with them the most?
Well, that Jesus need to come to us on earth through a baby, and that through that whole story, yes, it's a beautiful story about the Jesus and the baby and the visitors and all the drama that went around and everything, but the main thing was he had to come and be of human form to us. And that was important to God, and that was important to him. And that then through his next years of ministry, he was ministering to us, and to the point that he had to be born here because he died here, and he had to die for us. And so you can't have the Christmas story without having him complete the whole circuit.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now let's proceed with the author's perspective. So, you've said this book was a fluke and that you never planned to write it. Do you now see yourself as an author with a message, and how do you hope your work will inspire other people?
Well, I don't think it's so much the work or that I'm a great author or anything. I think what I put together shows people that when you read verses in whatever story you're going to read in the Bible, but in my case, it was the Christmas story because I really liked it. There is so much to learn by paying attention to what is there and doing a little research on the words that were used and trying to understand some of the meaning back then. And so that was very important. And so not that I was such a knowledgeable author, but I had to work, and that came out kind of towards then. I thought, well, maybe this could be a book. I put so much work into it, and I learned a lot from it. Maybe somebody else would enjoy that without having to do all the research that I did.
Okay. And yes, your life shows that it's never too late to create something meaningful. What encouragement would you give to someone who feels it's too late to chase their dream, to write, or to begin something new?
It's never too late, and it just happened to, come together that I felt God's leading to that, and I didn't think it was going to turn into a book, and I had no confidence that I could write a book or at least put it together. But when you put your mind to it and you follow God's leading and obey what maybe He's putting on your heart, that don't be discouraged, don't give up. If that's what He wants you to do, it'll come together.
Yes, that's a very great advice. And yes, indeed, the path that we'll take anytime soon, God will be always be there to guide us. Okay. You joke that another book is as likely as being struck by lightning. But if inspiration is yes, but if inspiration is strike, what kind of story or message would you like to explore next?
I have no idea. Um, if it would be anything, I'm sure it'd probably be some other story in the Bible that I would find very interesting and figure out that, well, maybe putting it together like this with some explanations and some detail to it that people might understand and enjoy that story more than anything. But I don't have that on my radar.
Okay, as of now, but okay, let's hope for the future. Okay, so at this point, I will ask you to show the physical copy of your book. So, um, can you show us the physical copy of your book now? And can you say a few words to our audience as to where we can buy and why do you want them to read your book? So you can share a few of your scriptures from the book or the passages. So let's do anything at this point.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to show them how the book is put together. So the first half of the book is illustrations with the passages that go with the illustrations. So it's a perfect setup that if you want to read it to your child or grandchild, that it's not the whole Bible story in these first few pages. It's just two or three verses that are important with a diagram and an illustration with it. So there's some beautiful pictures that pertain to the verses that are said, and so you can just use that part of it to show and go through with your kids and grandkids. Then if the kids get older or as the adults want to look at it, then the last half of the book then is where the actual all the verses are in there again with all the details with it. So it makes it really handy because I've been asked, well, is it for young kids or is it for adults? It's really for anybody, because if you want to read it to your kids or the kids want to read it, they can read it or look at it for the first half, and then the adults will learn something from the back half even if they've heard the story 100 times. So that part I like, and I think it's unique to any other Christmas book that's out there. Number one, it's got the actual scripture. Number two, it's broken down where you can read it as a story to a child, and adults can read it and learn something from it also. Go along with that one, that's a paperback, and there's also then the hardback, hardcover, which a lot of people like because it lasts longer and stuff, but that's their choice. And you can order them from Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble, and I think there's some other places out there. I think if they just Google it, it'll pop up in several places.
Okay, so that's really great, I must say. This is the first time that I saw like a book that's, half is like a storybook, like for animated, illustrated for children, and the other half is more on the passages. So that's really creative. Okay,
Yeah, that's why
okay.
I felt it was unique when it came together. That kind of came about later as I was going through it, and then I thought, well, it's going to be difficult to read the story, all 50 pages to a child, and how could I do that differently? And that's how I came up with a few verses, some illustrations, and then it told the story nice and convenient.
Okay. Okay, hands down. That's really good. That's really creative. Okay. Can you show us? the physical copies one last time so that
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, and the
So, like I said, one is the hardcover and one is the soft cover. Obviously, the hardcover is a little more expensive, but it will last a long time. So anyway, I hope the readers now can appreciate why it's different than many other Christmas books that are out there, and I know they will enjoy it and find it fun to read to their children and grandchildren.
Mr. Hag, thank you for taking us through your journey and sharing the heart behind the full Christmas story. Your book is a reminder that scripture, when read thoughtfully and prayerfully, continues to guide us in understanding the depth of God's love. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us here at Bookwrights House. May this conversation inspire you to open the pages of Scripture with fresh eyes, to embrace faith in your own journey, and to remember that it's never too late to begin something that matters. So until next time, keep reading, keep reflecting, and keep living out the stories that shape your faith. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.
Thank you.